What's going on YouTube? This is Quinn, that snazzy iPhone guy, and this is the video review of the Denon D510R headphones. Now these retail for $99.99 US, so they're not cheap by any means. And we're going to get into the headphones though and see how well they perform under our tests. Now obviously Denon has a very, very prestigious legacy of creating really high-end audio equipment. Now they kind of bled into the consumer technology probably 15 years ago, and their prestigiousness has dropped, but that doesn't mean the quality of their product has dropped. And this is definitely an interesting pair of headphones in the consumer line coming from Denon. So as I said earlier, these retail for $100 US. You can find them for a very low $97.50 on Amazon. So they're pretty much retail or MSRP everywhere. But they are good looking headphones. We're going to go over the headphones themselves, and then of course I'll get into audio quality and how they sound and how they compare to other competitors in its class. Now the build quality on these is actually kind of disappointing. When I held them for the first time, I asked myself, these are really $100 headphones, because they just don't feel like it. They have this plastic construction, which is by no means bad, but it doesn't feel like a $100 headphone. It feels kind of cheap, kind of cheesy, and it feels like what you would find on a $40, maybe even $30 pair of headphones. So it is a little bit of a disappointment. On the ear cups, you will get, I think it's milled aluminum, I'm not sure, but you get a nice metal Denon embossed cup on the outside, and then of course you have the plastic ear cup with some pretty nicely padded cushions. The cushions are pretty firm. They're not a lot of, they're not extremely soft, but we'll get into comfort in a minute. But they just feel kind of cheapy feeling. They don't feel like $100 headphones. They seem durable, but I don't know how they'll hold up in the long run. I haven't had them for 3 months, so I can't tell you, oh, they haven't had any problems. I haven't had any problems with them so far, but I've only had them 2 weeks, and they haven't been under rigorous conditions. They've been sitting in my room. I've been listening to them pretty actively, but they haven't been undergoing a lot of stress. So I'm not sure on durability how those are going to last, but the build construction for $100 headphones is kind of disappointing. Now the cord you're going to get is going to be a pretty tangled cord as well, and that's another disappointment. I hate tangles in my cord. I don't know what Denon did with this cord, but it tangles pretty severely. Now when you take a check at the headphones, each cup has a wire coming out of it. I really don't like that. You'll see a lot of manufacturers are moving away from that style, not only because it doesn't look as good, but also because it's uncomfortable. So I don't like the fact that 2 wires are coming out. I don't know if Denon did it on purpose, if there's higher fidelity, and I'm not going to argue with them logistically on why that's better. But I know in terms of my liking, I don't like the fact that there's a wire coming out of both ear cups. So these are compatible with the iPhone though, and BlackBerry and iPod, and all these other tri-clicker devices. We'll zoom in on the clicker here. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, there is the 3-way clicker. It's a pretty good looking clicker, not too complicated. There's the down volume, the up volume, and then of course the center button where you can play, pause, skip tracks. It's pretty well like any other headphone. The click isn't great. I don't prefer it to, some of the larger styles. Like I like the V-Moda Crossfade LP control system a little bit better. This isn't bad though, and I actually do prefer it to the stock Apple one where it's one mushy button. I do like that there are distinct buttons to press, but they're a little bit tricky to find and a little bit gimmicky at first. But it is on the left side, on the left wire, so it should be pretty normal if you're moving around from the Apple style buds or even a lower end pair of headphones. Now, if we look at the reverse side, you'll see that there's a microphone right there. The microphone is actually pretty astonishingly good, considering it's an inline mic, which the quality is typically subpar. I've been pretty impressed by the microphone quality. Now, granted, it's not excellent, but it is pretty good considering it's an inline mic. As we move down, we'll see the yoke here. There's no slider style, obviously, due to the fact that there's the controller right here. So you're not going to get a slider. Not a big deal for me. Some people really like it. I don't think it's necessary, especially on over-ear headphones. But as we keep going down the cable's probably 3 feet. When we get to the end here, we will find this 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Now this I'm not a fan of. As you can see, it is rounded right there. It's a little bit recessed, and that's so you can stick it into the first generation iPhone, into bulkier iPhone cases. And so it does have that recessed feel. So it should work in pretty much every environment. The issue is after that, it gets extremely fat and annoying. It is a bigger cable. I really dislike the way that they've situated that. I don't know why they've designed it that way. I really like the thin inline mics, the thin connections. But again, I'm not going to argue with Denon as to why that is better or why it's worse. I'm just going to say that you may discover issues fitting it into certain devices. The cable, though, is pretty thick. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, it tangles. No matter how hard you attempt to untangle it, it just has a natural tangle to it, and that's not something I've looked very keenly upon. But let's go back to the headphones themselves, and we'll talk about the style and, of course, the sound. Now, they fit really, really nicely. I said they're plastic construction, but this means they're also incredibly light. They're some of the lightest headphones I've ever tested, which means that they're very, very light on your head. It doesn't feel like anything's there after a few minutes, especially after you've used them for a day or two. The first day I discovered, minor discomfort. However, once I kind of flexed the headband out to my somewhat oversized head, they seem to fit a lot better. Now, unlike a lot of headphones in this class, they're not actually over ear, meaning they don't totally isolate you from the rest of your room. They sit on the ear, but that being said, there is still quite a bit of noise cancellation going on. It's not active noise cancellation. There's no batteries. They don't advertise it to be noise canceling, but it is passive noise canceling. And I did notice that when these headphones were on, it blocked a majority of white noise out and even talking in the background. So they did do pretty well in that regard. Of course, if you're buying $100 headphones, you want to know what the sound is, and I'd say they're pretty decent. They're nothing spectacular, but they're certainly not bad. When I first used them for the first 24 hours, I found them to be a little bit bright and somewhat undesirable. However, after extensive testing and after burn-in, I did find the trebs to soften up a little bit. And the bass, which I initially thought was pretty weak, started to move in a little bit after that 12 to 24 hour burn-in period. So if you get these headphones and you're not immediately satisfied, don't worry, neither was I. Let them play overnight, let them play through the day, even though you're not listening to them, and you will notice them to soften up and start to glide a little bit better. The EQ is pretty flat. If anything, I'd say that it's treble heavy. There's not a ton of bass, and so if you're looking for bass, it's not going to be something you're going to want to look at. Now, that being said, if you listen to rock, if you listen to pretty much anything other than the heavy bass end songs like hip hop, dance, electronica, that kind of stuff, you're going to like the sound of the bass. It's not overpowering, which means it's not going to be muddy. It's pretty punchy, it's pretty nice, but like I said, it's not overpowering at all. If anything, it's a little bit weak, but I discovered with pretty much all my other music genres other than electronica and hip hop, I really enjoyed the bass that was put out. So if you're looking for that low end, these probably aren't the headphones for you, but if you're into pretty much anything else other than hip hop, rap, and electronica, you're probably pretty good. Now the mids are nice, buttery smooth. I didn't notice them to improve much over the burn-in period, but they were definitely not bad the first time I tried them. And this is very unusual for headphones in this class, but I'd have to say that the mids are probably the strongest part of the headphones. When we move on to the trebles, they sound very good. Like I stated earlier, they're a little bit bright, but after burn-in, they softened up. I could hear distinctions and minute sounds in the track that you don't typically hear with headphones in this price range. Denon definitely focused on the sound, if anything, and that's why I think the $100 price point is, you can justify it. No, I don't think the build quality is great. No, I don't think they look spectacular, but the sound is pretty good considering what you pay. Now, the question is it worth $100? I would say, yeah, if this is the headphone you're looking for, if you like the sound, definitely I think it's a great headphone for $100. Now, do I think there's better options out there for less money? Yes, I do. I think the Koss headphones I reviewed the other day are pretty much on par with sound quality, and they're half the price. And then when you look at some of the other Sennheiser headphones in the $99 price range, you can start to find some pretty nice stuff. So I would say Denon has a little bit of a premium price point. Granted, you do get the legacy and the customer service of Denon, but I would have to say that there are better options out there for $100. Now, if Denon's something you got your heart set on, these are definitely good headphones, but like I stated, you can find better headphones for less. This is Quinn, That's Snazzy iPhone Guy, coming at you with another headphone review. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, rate, and comment. And as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.